Hi, my name's Brian Schumaker. I'm here to tie a fly I developed called the Shimmer Minnow. I developed this fly for smallmouth bass, but I'll show you as we tie along here that you can adapt this fly to the baitfish in your waters, and it can be for multi-species. So the first thing we're going to start out with is with the tail. We're going to use a 15mm shank to start, and I'm just going to apply a thread base to that. And then the next piece we're going to apply a little bit of marabou back for the tail. So I'm just going to measure that on the back. It's probably about 1 inch to 1.25 inches long. Cut that off, and we're just going to lay that right up on top of the hook shank. Tie that in. So then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of flash, and we'll put some flash in the tail here. I don't really count the strands, so whatever you feel comfortable with. And then what I'll do is, so the flash doesn't pull out, I just take it, double it over, and then lay that right up on top of the hook shank so it lays back on top of that marabou. And then I trim it off just a little bit past the end of the marabou, like so. Now the next thing to complete that body is I use Palmer chenille. This is a medium Palmer chenille. It's one-sided. I know they make some that's double-sided, but I happen to like the one-sided. So what we'll do is we're tying this in so that the fibers are facing towards the rear of this hook shank. We'll tie that down, and then we're just going to palmer it forward towards the hook eye. So you want your fibers to lay back to give you a slim profile and not forward where it makes it a fuller profile. So on this back piece, I usually cut about 3 inches of Palmer chenille, and that seems to work out very well. As you can see, I'm stroking those fibers back as we go, and they lay back nice and clean. And then I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to tie it off. And then we're going to cut that off. So as you can see, those fibers lay back and give you a nice profile. And then I'm just going to tie that down a little bit. I'm going to whip finish it, and that will be the tail. Cut those little loose strands off. So let me get a whip finisher here. And I'll just create a nice little head. So you could leave this is a pearl Palmer chenille. You could leave it pearl, it'll fish fine. Or what I do is I take prismatic markers, Copic markers, and color the back of this minnow in. I'm going to use the wide. And I just come along the top here. And this is gray, so I'm going to do a gray back. And then I color the thread in too, but just add color in the back in on this, and the belly will be white. So that takes care of the tail of this fly. So I'm just going to pull that out of the vise, sit that down here for a moment, and now I'm going to grab the hook. And this is a size 2 stinger hook. Like that. And then I'm going to add a thread base to the shank of that hook before we start adding any materials or anything. There we go. So get a nice thread base on there. So the next thing is we want to be able to attach this tail to this hook. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use some bite wire. I'm going to cut a strand of that. I couldn't tell you the exact measurement. Just make sure you cut a piece big enough that you can work with. So then basically what I'm going to do is lay that bite wire on top of the hook shank. I'm going to lash it down. And then I'm going to take our tail. I'm going to go through the eye of that shank in the back, lay that right up on here, and I'm going to tie that down on top as well. So now your tail will be attached, and it's a single articulation, so when that comes through the water, it's going to move. I'm just going to lay that wire and come back over top of it like so. And then take the wire cutters and I'm going to trim that. And just wrap back over top of that. Now, if you like, you can come back with UV resin and go over top of those thread wraps if you like. However you like to do it, head cement or whatever. Sometimes I'll just leave it go like as is and just wrap it down good and tight, and since it's doubled back over, it should not pull out. I haven't had a fish pull out. So the next step is I'm going to take a little bit of marabou just to try to cover that connection up. I don't think it really matters, but it's just something I like to do. I don't think it's a critical step, but just to cover that up just a little bit. So I'm just going to take a little bit of marabou, just lay it right up on top. Just like that, and we'll tie that down. Just to cover that connection up a little bit, like so. So the next thing to do on this fly, I'm going to take another piece of Palmer chenille. This piece is 5 inches long, and we're going to tie that onto the hook shank the same way that we did on the back shank. You want to tie that in where your fibers are facing towards the rear. So we're just going to lay that right up on the side. We're going to tie that in. Like so. Just this base a minute. Move the thread up towards the eye. And then we're going to start wrapping. So your fibers are going to face towards the rear. And I'll keep pulling them back. And you're going to palmer this up towards the eye of the hook. One wrap in front of the other. And what you can do is just attach your hackle pliers. It'll help speed up the process a little bit. And then you're just going to keep palmering this up to the eye of the hook. Keep pushing your fibers back so they lay back. just keep working that all the way up towards right behind the eye of the hook. And then I'm going to come in here, a couple loose wraps, tie that down, and then you cut that off. Like so. Lay those fibers back. We're going to make a head, then we're going to whip finish this off. Cut all these little loose strands out of your road. Grab the whip finisher. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, it's just like we did on the back part of the fly. We're going to take a marker and we're going to color in the back. And leave the belly white because most bait fish have a white belly. And I'll turn it to the side here a little bit to make sure I get all those top fibers. Back to the other side and do the same thing. So basically we have the basis of a minnow. The last thing I like to do is we're going to use like a fish mask. So what I do to attach the mask is I take a little bit of UV clear finish that's thick. And this is a little cold, so it's a little stiffer. But what I'll do is I'm just going to apply some up here on the head. Like so. And then we're going to slide that mask over. Like that. And then I'm going to hit that with a UV light and let that set up. Just like that. And there we have a finished shimmering minnow. So like I said, this fly I developed for smallmouth bass. You can use these markers and you can make this to match whatever bait fish that you have in your waters or for whatever species, different species of fish that you're fishing. I like to fish it on an intermediate line with about a 5-foot piece of fluorocarbon for like your leader, nothing special, just erratic strips. Let it pause and it'll actually suspend in the water, and then when you strip it, it'll dive, it'll go back and forth. So give it a try. It's been very effective for me. Thank you.